Today I'm going to show you how to create a text banner in Photoshop. Hey guys, and welcome to Phlearn. My name is Aaron Nace, and you can find me on Phlearn.com, where we make learning Photoshop and photography fun. And this episode, it's super cool because we're not really doing anything photo editing wise. We're doing a little bit more like the graphic design sort of thing. We're going to show you how to take a text banner. We're actually going to download a template from Fotoliacom, and then we're going to bring it into Photoshop and show you how to lay over words onto different shapes and sizes of banners. We're also going to show you how to transform the text. That way you can make it fit on a variety of different shapes. We're even going to do it on a flag. And to finish the episode up, we're going to add all three of the banners onto a photo so you can actually see what they would look like superimposed onto a photograph. It's going to be a great episode. Let's get into it. When we're creating a text banner for our images, we have two options. The first is to create the background banner completely from scratch, which we'll talk about how to do. But the second option, which I would prefer to do, is actually to just download a template of banners. They're very easy to find. In this case, we're pulling from Fotolia.com. So we've gone to Fotolia.com, I typed in banner, and this is one of the many options that we have available to us. And you can see here a lot of other options available that are very similar. Now the reason I love these is because they include several different types of banners, and they're all basically in the same language. They look similar, and you can kind of place them together. Not only that, but they're relatively inexpensive, and you could just download a whole pack of them so you can get started using them. You don't have to worry about actually creating these graphics from scratch. Now, my opinion is to download the vector, which is a file format that you can size infinitely. So you can make these incredibly large if you want to. If you're sticking with JPEGs, it's going to give you a little bit less workability. So I would always recommend, if there is a vector option here on Fotolia, I would recommend downloading the vector option. So that's what we're going to use for today's episode. And also be sure to check out the description of this episode, because we're including a couple links to some of the banner images that are on Fotolia.com, just to make it easier for you guys. So now we're jumping into Photoshop. Let's go ahead and open up one of those vector images that I downloaded of the banners. So I'm going to hit Controller Command O for open, and here we're going to click on this document, and you can see it's got just a string of numbers and letters here, but we can see here it's a .eps file. .eps, right down here, is basically a vector format that's going to allow us to make this image as large or as small as we want. So when I go to hit open on this file, it's actually going to ask me to rasterize the EPS format, which is okay. And here I can choose the actual size I'd like it to be. So in case of pixels, I'm going to type in something like 5,000 pixels. Now the reason I'm choosing such a large image dimension is that it really doesn't matter when you have an EPS file. You can make these as large as you'd like, and it's good to start off with a file size that is large. That way you can scale it down later if you need to. So we've got 5,000 pixels by, let's set the pixels as well. So 5,000 by 5,000. Resolution of 72 pixels per inch is okay. Our mode, we're going to change this to RGB color, and we're going to hit OK. There we go. That's pulling up our example image. Let's go ahead and focus on this. So this should now be 5,000 by 5,000. Just to make sure, we're going to go to image and then down here to image size, and we should see our size here is 5,000 by 5,000. That way, if I want to zoom in to 100%, this is how large our background is with all of our graphics. That way, I can have a really large size that I can work with at full size, and if I need to, I can scale it down later. So we're almost ready to go ahead and start using these banners. There's just one more step we need to take care of, and that's deleting the background, because right now we have a background here that if I wanted to put this over top an image, you would see this white area on our background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab our magic wand tool. So W for the magic wand tool, and then I'm going to just click right here on our background, and that should pretty much select out everything that you need selected. Now if you do have a ribbon or something like this that you need to hold down Shift and select this, area inside there, just shift and click on there, and that's going to allow you to make that a selection as well. All right, let's do the same thing with these little guys here in the metal cup. All right, there we go. So that looks like it should have selected everything, and now all I'm gonna do is click the delete key, and it's going to delete my background, and now I've got all of these different icons on their own transparent backgrounds. And that's all the text we need to do to get banners into Photoshop with the transparent background. Now it's time to start adding some text. So in our first example, we're going to keep things pretty simple. We're going to start off with the same banner, and I'm just going to make a selection right around this area because we're going to cut this out. I don't need it on the same layer as all of the other ones. So let's grab a marquee tool. I'm going to just make a selection right around here. Just minus that out really quick. So we've got a selection just around this shape. I'm going to hit Controller Command J. That's going to put that on a new layer. Let's go ahead and make our original layer invisible. So now we just have this guy. It's on its own layer. We still have all this stuff in the background if we need it, but we have this one on its own layer so we can really go in and focus on this layer. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is grab the type tool. So let's hit T for the type tool, and now I'm going to click on here and we're just going to type in photo. That looks pretty good. So we're going to hit photo. I'm going to hit, I want a couple of these, so I'm going to click on there. I'm going to hit of the, all right, and then we're going to click over here and we're going to call this day. So photo of the day. Now, what I want to do is make sure that I can actually align all of these different words together, because right now they don't actually fit into what we see. You can see like photo, for instance, doesn't fit perfectly into the middle of that blue. And I don't want to just click and move it around because I don't know exactly where is top to bottom centered or left to right and things like that. So we're going to jump in and show you some alignment tools that you can use to actually make sure that all these words are staying exactly in the right place. So let's go ahead and start off with our first word, photo. What we're going to do is I'm going to zoom in so I can actually see photo. I've got my background banner, and here we have our photo layer. What I'm going to do is make a selection around this area of our banner. So I'm going to click on my marquee tool, and I'm going to make this selection here from the top left down to the bottom right. So basically I've got a selection just of this shape. And if it's not perfect, no big deal. Just click and drag and you can do it again. There we go. So that's now a selection. Now, because I have this selection active, I can align my text inside of this selection. So if I click on my text layer, this is my text layer here for photo, and then I want to go to the Move tool, I can align this vertically and horizontally, but just by clicking on my alignment tools up here. So let's go ahead and align that vertically and then horizontally. And now we can see the text photo is directly in the center of that block, which is exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and do day as well, because that's going to be basically the same idea. So for day, I'm going to use my marquee tool. We're going to make a selection right around here, because I want it to be right in the center of this area here. Click on my day text, and then use my move tool to bring up the alignment. I'm going to align it vertically and then horizontally. And now I know this text is perfectly in the center there. All right, now we have one thing we'd like to get to. This of the is just a little bit too big. So I'm going to change my size here, my font size, to about 160. There we go. Now it's actually going to fit, and now we're ready to make the same adjustments. So we're going to use the marquee tool to make this selection right here. Make sure I'm clicked on of the layer, and now we're going to use our move tool and then align this vertically and horizontally. Beautiful. And there we have photo of the day, and it's perfectly aligned inside of our banners. So to recap that section, a simple banner, you can use a couple different text layers to actually place what you want over top of the areas of your banner. And then you can make a selection and use your alignment tool to make sure the text is perfectly aligned inside of the banner. Now in our next example, we're going to get a little bit more complex. So photo of the day is done. Let's go ahead and shift click all of those different layers. I'm going to hit Controller Command G to group them together, and we're just going to call this photo of the day. There we go. So that's on its own layer now. I can click and I can move this around, and it's all going to stay together. Okay, let's go ahead and bring up our background. So photo of the day, that one's good to go. Now this time I want to try this curved banner. it's going to give us a little bit more to work with here. So this curved banner, we're just going to make a selection on our layer 1. And now I'm going to, with my marquee tool, select out that curved banner. And just like we did with the other banner, we're going to hit Control or Command J to bump that onto a new layer. So let's make our background layer invisible now, and we should see two things. We should see photo of the day, which I see right here. That's its own group, remember? And now we have this one down here. So let's go ahead and make photo of the day invisible. We're going to focus on this one for a little while. First thing I want to do is get some type in there. So I'm going to hit T for the type tool, click right there, and I'm going to type winner. Because why not? Because you're a winner. Okay, now the first thing I want to do is stretch this out just a little bit. I'd like to edit the tracking in between my characters, and that's right over here. This is where you see VA. This is tracking, which is going to change the spacing in between letters. Now, this guy over here, let's just, if I were to bring this down to 0, and I start adjusting this is the width of the text itself. And you can see how the letters themselves are really getting wide there. This is pretty much a no-no. You want this where it says T and it's stretching right to the left. You want that to be at 0, sorry, you want it to be at 100. You want it to be at 100 pretty much all the time. If you want to make something wider or shallower, try adjust the space between the letters. You can go see 200 spacing or a -100. Try adjusting the spacing of the letters rather than the letters themselves. All right, so 200, is that going to do it? If not, you can just type in your own value here. We'll type in 300. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we need to make sure that it actually follows the dip of the banner itself. So what we're going to do is hit Control or Command T. That's in our transform dialog. So Control or Command T is going to break our transform. Now here we have a lot of options here on the top. We have options for moving this X, Y, we can change the width and the height. All of this stuff we've seen before. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to go all the way to the right here to where we see this little warp button. Switch between free transform and warp modes. So we're going to click on that warp button now. Okay, so you're like, okay, cool, nothing happened. Well, when I clicked on that warp button, now over here I have options of what type of warp I'd like to apply to my text. So we have options for flag, fisheye, squeeze, all kinds of different things. Basically, you want to look for the shape that most similarly looks to the shape you're trying to fit. And in this case, we're going to go to our arc. So let's go to arc. We could also try arch, but we're going to try arc to start with. There we go. So you can see it's basically starting up, arcing it up in a positive way. You can click right here on this little point and you can drag up or down. So it's really, really easy to actually adjust your text based on where it's going to go. And you can use the up, down, left, and right arrows as well to space your text within inside of your banner. All right, there we go. That's looking pretty good. Okay, now if you'd like to, you can change your bend here as well. So you could have that bend go up or down. You can also change the bend direction. So if you'd like this to bend out that way instead, you can do this way as well. So if you're trying to get text to fit, I would really recommend making sure that you try the warp tool. All right, let's pull that down just a little bit. All right, and I think that fits very well. So we're gonna hit that checkbox up there, and there we have winner right here in our document. Now let's go ahead, again, I wanna hit my marquee tool and make a selection, and I wanna make sure that our winner text is in fact aligned across the center. So I'm gonna click right there, and that's gonna make sure we're aligned right across the center, and we're good to go with our winner example. So this example is relatively similar to the first one. We just went more complex with the warping. We started off by selecting an area of the banner that we actually wanted and duplicating that onto its own layer. Then we added our text over top of the banner, and we used our warp command to change that bow of the text to really make it fit inside of the banner. Cool, so our third example is going to be a little bit more complex. We've got a completely different banner this time, and basically did the exact same thing. This is from Fotoliacom. I cleared out the background and put this on its own layer. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit T for the type tool, and then we're just gonna type here, and we're gonna type in beginner's guide. Beginner's space, and then hit guide, because this is gonna go onto the beginner's guide to levitation. All right. Now, before I get this to actually start warping around, I want to make sure it fits in the actual space pretty well. So I'm going to use my transform tools. I'm going to hit Shift and click on one of these corners here and just try to bring that around so it's a little bit larger, and then try to stick it out in the center there. All right, that looks pretty good. I think if I can push this right side down and pull this left side up, I think we'll be good. So now we're going to transform this and give it a little warp. So we're going to hit Controller Command T for the transform tool, and then within the transform tool, now we access the warp. So we can either right click here and go down to warp, or we can click on this little button. Those will both go to the warp tool. All right, now our warp we're going to choose, this time it's going to be flag, and by default it's not going the right way. So we need to click on this little box here and drag that up. There we go. And I can still move this around as I'm actually creating it to decide, you know what, do I need so much of a warp on this layer? Is it okay? And in this case, you can see it's getting us pretty close. Like this area looks okay, but this starts to curve down a little bit. So I might have to do this in 2 different steps. So let's go ahead and say this looks good for this step. Let's hit that checkbox. All right, and the second step, I'm going to hit Controller Command T on this one, and now I'm going to hold down the Control or the Command key and click on this little box, which is going to allow me to just start warping this text around. You can see clicking here and moving that around. There we go. So let's go ahead and stretch it out in this way. All right, and go ahead and make it fit into our shape. So let's hit enter. Now let's look at the before and the after. So here's just straight after the first warp. The after, a quick way to do it, hold down the Control or the Command key again, and you can click on any one of these corner points. So we're just going to click on that. There we go, and stretch that right over there. All right, perfect. And there we have our beginner's guide. So now we've got 3 different examples of how we can apply text onto a banner. Let's go ahead and put these banners on our image so we can see how they actually interact with the image itself. So we've got everything queued up here in Photoshop. I've got all the different groups, all the banners that we created in the first couple sections. Now we're ready to stick them on top of our image. So we've got photo of the day. All we need to do here is use my move tool, and I can click and drag from one image over to another one, and it's going to apply it right over on top of the image. All right, we're going to do the same with winner. We're going to click and drag there so where you can see our winner. And then we're going to click on this one as well, the beginner's guide. Click and drag from one image over top of the other. Okay, now let's hit F for full screen. Now, earlier in this tutorial, we mentioned that we really wanted to make these banners as large as possible, because when we downscale something or size things smaller, we don't lose resolution. So making a banner huge and then scaling it down when it's time to apply it to your image, that's a good way to do it, rather than making a tiny banner and then when you actually need to use that banner, scaling it up. So they're huge right now, but we're going to scale them down, and that's exactly what we want. Cool, so let's go ahead and start with this beginner's guide. I'm going to hit Controller Command T, and we're just going to click on this chain link that's going to lock our width and our height, and we're going to scale the entire thing down quite a bit. All right, let's hit enter there, and now we can see placing this on my image is really simple. It's just could treat it as basically a normal text layer. So I can put this, the idea is to put it in somewhere that's actually going to wind up making sense with the image itself. So we can click on the corner there, we can put it on any one of these. You know what, I think I like the top right corner. So let's go ahead and put it there. And I've given us a little bit of space on the outside of our image so we can see this banner kind of, you can see it goes off of the image itself and kind of comes up there. So that way, if I did decide to, let's just hit full screen and put this on a white background. Now we can see the really nice effect we have with the banner actually extends on past the image. All right, let's see what our others look like. We've got winner, and this would be perfect. Let's just scale this down a little bit more. This would be perfect centered in, like, let's say the center of our image with the bottom again. So you can see, personally, I like the effect of having like a little banner or something, having it actually extend past the image. I think that's a really nice effect. We could do the same thing up here on the top if we wanted to. Let's put this down here on the bottom. And if you need more space, just grab your crop tool and give yourself a little bit more space. There we go. And now I can put this winner right there. That looks actually really, really nice. All right, let's see what our next banner looks like. Photo of the day. We're going to full screen this out. And this I want to be, well, if I put it on the left here, that's okay, but I'm going to need to hit the crop tool, click and drag that out to give me a little bit more space, and then hit enter. All right, let's use our photo of the day. We'll go ahead and put this right up here on the top so it kind of integrates into the image a little bit. Yeah, That's really, really cool. So we've got photo of the day. Let's see what else we've got. Our original. All right, our beginner's guide. And you know what, the beginner's guide, I think we could put this a little bit more on top of the image. So let's click on the beginner's guide. We'll full screen that out. And then you know what, I think this would be nice up here, but we would need to go ahead and recrop our image. So I kind of like the look of the banners when they go off the image a little bit. And if you like that look too, just grab your crop tool and you can space out a little bit more extra size for your actual banner. So in the final photo, we'll be able to see these are the boundaries of my final photograph. You can see I've made room for these beginner's guide. Obviously right now I've got room for all three of them. But in the case that you just wanted to use one of them, what you would do, let's just say all we wanted to use was this winner. You would just crop in and make sure that, there we go, you just crop in from the top and from the left. There we go. And from the right. We're going to hit enter there. All right, a little bit more from the left. All right, there we are. And now we have our winner or whatever we decide, and we can use these images in many different places. All right, so whether you guys are announcing a contest, creating a special promotion or a prize, or you just want to call attention to one of your images, maybe you're making a party invitation, there's a whole lot of applications for these banners on your images. And that's all there is to creating them and placing them on your images in Photoshop. Let's take a look at what our image looks like without the banners, and now with the banners turned on. Very, very cool. So now it's your turn. I don't expect you to use the exact same banners that I used in this episode. That's not the point. The point is for you to get your own templates and then for you to actually choose what you want to say on your images and then create those banners, put them on top of your images or just leave them on their own. Now you know how to make the banners and you can make whatever you'd like. If you love Photoshop and photography just like I do, well, you're gonna love Phlearn.com because we make episodes teaching you how to do Photoshop and photography, and we make them every single week. And you can subscribe to our channel just by clicking on your screen right now, and you'll receive free episodes every single week from Phlearn.com. I'm gonna keep making them. As long as you guys keep watching them, we're good to go. And if you have any questions or you have a comment about today's episode, just leave it right down below. We'd love to hear from you, especially about something like this, because it's not specially photo editing. We're branching out a little bit to teach more like the graphic design and that sort of thing. So if you like this sort of stuff, let us know and we'll keep doing it. All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll Phlearn you later. Bye, everyone. If you like it, don't say anything. We're just gonna have to guess what you like. If you like it, let us know. We'll keep doing it. If you think it stinks, let us know. We'll stop doing it. Something stinks. This is a break. Boom. Then we added the text. All right. Whew, what are we saying here? All right. So if you do want one, all right. So I kind of look I go off of the image. All right, Kieran, you got your work cut out for you, little lady. It's not 100% a shit show, but